Day of the Dead, the pagan roots of Mexico's main holiday. The night flickers with candlelight, illuminating vibrant marigold petals scattered across the altars. The air is thick with the scent of copal incense, curling into the darkened sky like whispers of the past. Beneath the joyous laughter and colorful masks, a deeper story lingers, one that stretches back through centuries of tradition, war, and faith. What if the origins of Mexico's most celebrated holiday, Dia de los Muertos, were not merely a fusion of Catholicism and indigenous beliefs, but something much older, deeply rooted in the very essence of human reverence for death? Chapter 1. The Dawn of Death Worship. Long before the Spanish galleons ever set sail to explore the New World, the indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica had already established a profound relationship with death, viewing it not as an end, but rather a sacred transition. The Mexica, better known as the Aztecs, held a unique understanding of the afterlife, where the manner of one's death dictated their journey, not moral righteousness. Warriors who perished in battle and women who died during childbirth were thought to ascend to Tonatiuh Ilhicatl, the celestial realm of the sun, while others embarked on a perilous 4-year journey through Mictlan, the underworld. This cosmic belief system shaped the very fabric of their society, influencing everything from warfare to marriage and the way they interacted with the deceased. Mictlantecutli, the skeletal god of death, and his wife, Mictecacihuatl, the Lady of the Dead, ruled over Mictlan, guiding souls through its treacherous 9 levels. These realms were not just a dark void but a vivid landscape filled with challenges that mirrored the hardships of life. For the Mexica, death was an integral part of existence, and it was not feared but revered. To honor the gods of death, the Mexica would perform elaborate ceremonies filled with music, offerings of food, drink, and personal artifacts to aid the departed on their journey. These rituals reflected a deep belief that the deceased were still very much part of the living world, maintaining a reciprocal bond with their ancestors. This tradition of death worship extended beyond the Mexica, reaching other ancient Mesoamerican cultures like the Maya and the Purépecha, who each incorporated similar rites into their cosmology. The Maya, for example, believed in a cyclical nature of life and death, where death was merely a continuation of a cosmic cycle, not the ultimate end. The Purépecha, from what is now Michoacán, honored their ancestors with rituals that involved both offerings and symbolic acts to ensure a smooth transition into the afterlife. Across these civilizations, death was woven into the very fabric of their spiritual and daily lives. A fascinating fact to consider is that some archaeological discoveries suggest that death-related rituals in Mesoamerica date back as far as the Olmecs, often considered the mother culture of the region. Flourishing nearly 3,000 years ago, the Olmecs left behind massive stone heads that still stand in the jungles of Veracruz and Tabasco. These colossal monuments not only serve as testament to their artistic prowess but also hint at the ancient funerary practices that may have laid the groundwork for what would eventually become Dia de los Muertos. The Olmecs' influence spread far beyond their time, leaving an indelible mark on the spiritual traditions of their descendants. Chapter 2. Conquest and the Crossroads of Faith. When Hernán Cortés arrived on the shores of what would become Mexico in the early 16th century, he unleashed a wave of change that shook the very foundations of indigenous life. The Spaniards, armed with Christian symbols and a fervent desire to convert the native peoples, viewed the rich traditions of the Aztecs as mere paganism. Missionaries, eager to replace what they saw as idolatry, began to impose Catholic feast days such as All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day upon the local population. Their goal was to erase the old ways and replace them with Christian doctrine, bringing the so-called light of salvation to the heathens. However, despite the missionary efforts, the indigenous spirit remained unbroken. The celebration of the dead, so central to the Aztec worldview, did not vanish. Instead, it subtly transformed, blending the old and new worlds in an intricate dance of survival. The festivals honoring Mictecacihuatl, the goddess of the underworld, and Mictlantecutli, the god of death, merged with the Catholic observances of the departed. What emerged was a unique celebration, the Day of the Dead, a time when families honored their ancestors, inviting them back into the world of the living through offerings, food, and prayers. This fusion of beliefs was not unique to Mexico. Across the Americas, indigenous traditions were intertwined with those of their colonizers. In Brazil, for example, African slaves brought their spiritual practices, which merged with Catholicism to form the syncretic religion of Candomblé. Similarly, in Haiti, enslaved Africans fused their ancestral beliefs with Catholic saints, giving rise to voodoo, a vibrant and complex spiritual system. These cultural hybrids, born out of necessity and resistance, showcase the remarkable resilience of native traditions in the face of colonial pressure. The creation of the Day of the Dead is a perfect example of this cultural survival. What began as an Aztec reverence for the souls of the departed evolved into a rich, multifaceted celebration that continues to this day. It is a testament to the endurance of indigenous identity, a holiday that not only honors the dead but also celebrates life in a way that is uniquely Mexican, deeply rooted in both pre-Columbian and colonial histories. In its present form, the Day of the Dead is a joyous occasion, full of vibrant colors, the scent of marigolds, the taste of sugar skulls, and the sounds of music and laughter, an enduring expression of a culture that refused to be erased. Chapter 3. The Evolution of the Ofrenda. The ofrenda, or altar, has become one of the most symbolic elements of Dia de los Muertos, a beautiful display where families honor their departed loved ones. Though it's widely believed that Spanish influence introduced the custom of creating altars, its origins actually trace back to ancient Mesoamerican traditions. The indigenous peoples of Mexico, including the Aztecs and Mayans, believed that death was not an end but a transition, and they set up offerings to ensure that the spirits of the deceased were welcomed back for a brief reunion with the living. These altars were often placed near tombs or family homes and included food, flowers, incense, and sacred objects designed to nourish and guide the spirits back. One of the most important features of the ofrenda is the marigold flower, known as cempasúchil in Nahuatl. The bright orange hue and strong scent of these flowers were thought to be a beacon that guided the souls of the dead on their journey to visit their living relatives. This symbolism was deeply rooted in Aztec beliefs, where the cempasúchil was considered a sacred plant, connected to the sun god Huitzilopochtli. Interestingly, modern science has uncovered that marigolds also possess natural insect-repelling properties, which would have been particularly useful when placed in burial sites or around offerings, offering a practical benefit long before their spiritual meaning became apparent. Another striking feature of the ofrenda is the calaveras, or sugar skulls, which have become iconic symbols of Dia de los Muertos. These intricately decorated sugar skulls are often inscribed with the names of the deceased and represent a joyous and colorful celebration of life rather than death. The tradition of using skulls to honor ancestors can be traced back to pre-Hispanic times when indigenous peoples kept skulls of the deceased as sacred objects. These skulls were sometimes decorated or displayed to celebrate the ancestors' lives. Over time, this tradition evolved, and by the early 20th century, the sugar skull became an emblem of the holiday, highlighting the blend of ancient customs and modern practices. The figure of La Catrina, a beautifully dressed skeletal woman, is perhaps the most iconic modern symbol of Dia de los Muertos. Originally created by Mexican artist José Guadalupe Posada in the early 20th century, La Catrina was a satirical commentary on the Mexican aristocracy and their obsession with European fashion. However, her roots can be traced back to Aztec representations of death deities, who were often depicted as skeletal figures. Over time, La Catrina became an essential part of the celebration, embodying both the elegance and the inevitability of death, bridging ancient traditions with contemporary Mexican culture. As Dia de los Muertos continues to evolve, the ofrenda remains a profound reminder of the cyclical nature of life and death. It is a living testament to the fusion of ancient indigenous beliefs with more recent cultural influences, forming a unique and vibrant tradition that celebrates the lives of those who have passed while honoring their enduring presence in the hearts of the living. Through offerings, flowers, and the playful sugar skulls, the ofrenda has become not just a physical altar, but a powerful symbol of memory, love, and respect that transcends time. Chapter 4. Dia de los Muertos in the Modern Era. Though deeply rooted in ancient traditions, Dia de los Muertos has continued to evolve over the centuries. The holiday finds its origins in pre-Columbian Mesoamerican cultures, such as the Aztecs, who believed that death was not an end but a transition. For them, death was an essential part of the natural cycle, and the souls of the deceased would return to be honored and reunited with their families. Over time, these indigenous practices blended with Spanish Catholicism, creating the Dia de los Muertos we know today. During the Mexican Revolution in the early 20th century, it took on even greater significance, becoming a symbol of resistance to colonial influences and a celebration of indigenous heritage. Amid the turbulence of revolution, the holiday was transformed into an assertion of Mexico's identity and a powerful reminder of its cultural roots. Today, Dia de los Muertos is recognized worldwide, with UNESCO declaring it an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2003. This recognition brought the holiday to global attention, with people from all corners of the world learning about its vibrant customs and spiritual depth. The traditional altars, or ofrendas, filled with marigolds, candles, food, and personal mementos, have become iconic representations of the holiday's essence. Yet, the growing international popularity of Dia de los Muertos has sparked debates about its authenticity. In the United States, especially, the commercialization of the holiday has raised concerns. Critics argue that the mass production of Dia de los Muertos-themed merchandise and its incorporation into Halloween festivities risk diluting its deeper meaning and reducing it to a mere aesthetic. Others, however, view this exposure as an opportunity to educate people about Mexico's rich cultural history, offering a chance to bridge gaps and celebrate diversity. Regardless of its modern interpretations, the essence of Dia de los Muertos remains unchanged. It is a time not of mourning, but of joyful reunion. It is a sacred moment when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead is at its thinnest, allowing the spirits of the deceased to return. The holiday is not just about remembering the departed, it is about celebrating life, creating a space for both the living and the dead to coexist for a brief moment in time. Families gather around their altars, lighting candles that flicker softly in the dark, while they share stories, songs, and laughter. The spirits, symbolized by colorful calaveras skulls, seem to smile back, reminding everyone that death is not something to fear but a part of the eternal cycle. And as the sun sets on the evening of November 1st and 2nd, the streets of Mexico come alive with parades, music, and vibrant offerings. The rich scent of incense and copal fills the air as families decorate the graves of their ancestors, filling them with the warmth of remembrance. In these moments, there is no fear or sadness, only a sense of unity, a belief that those who have passed are still with us in spirit, walking beside us, laughing with us. After all, if death is inevitable, what better way to embrace it than with joy, color, and remembrance? The living and the dead are not separate. They are united in the cycle of life, ever intertwined. And that's it, thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring historical worlds, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting stories.